Oh, everybody. There we go. Scared me. Woo! It's loud. I wanted to jump on this stage, but I can't jump anymore. As you can tell by the 515 West magazine, if you've seen some of those pictures, everybody else in the magazine is jumping like way in the sky. Chris Nelson is like, two stories up, and I'm like, yay, I'm jumping. Can't you tell, right? I'm jumping. I don't jump anymore. So thank you, everybody, for being here. My name is Catherine Harrington. I'm the very proud president and CEO of the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce, and I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be so much fun. So this has been 2 years in the making, and this idea was a brainstorm from Kara Matheson, our Senior Director of Workforce Development. And here we are, Tina Talks. Move over, Ted. Shh, we're not supposed to say that, though. Ted reached out to us and said, no more talking about Ted. So we're not allowed to talk about Ted. Ted. But this is true. So if you have any social media posts that refer to Ted, move over Ted, Tina Talks, I do, if you would erase it actually after this event. I'm not kidding you, I know. You're like, really, Kelly? Kelly's like, really, Catherine? So this is indeed true. But you know what's so cool about that is Ted is watching us. That is cool, right? That is really cool. So people in New York City are seeing what the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce is doing. So I love that. We're trying to make some big noise for West Des Moines because we're trying to draw more talent here, more people, more humans, more beautiful humans like yourselves. So I am okay with people in New York City knowing about West Des Moines, Iowa. So this is sponsored by Christopher's Fine Jewelry, and I'm so excited. In a moment, I'm going to bring up Christine Osborne. She's going to MC our event today. We really appreciate her so much. But today you're going to be hearing from Lisa Behrens, Christine McIntyre, Liz Need, Melissa Vine, Beth Shelton, Jill Mara Mitchell, Ramona Wink, and Tess Adams. A big round of applause for our beautiful experts today. Woo-hoo-hoo. And you know what? They're going to give us a huge dose of motivation, inspiration, and all the other TION words you can imagine and think of. So we will, I'm sure, see them on the grand TED Talk stage someday. Trust me. So without further ado, I'm excited to bring up to the MC stage here Christine Osborne with Christopher's Fine Jewelry, who is going to help us carry our program. And thank you, Christine, for moderating and for sponsoring today. We love you so much. Thank you.
Best chamber on earth, and it sounds like we're getting known all around, so that is pretty cool. Well, as Catherine said, my name is Christine Osborne. I serve Christopher's Fine Jewelry and Rare Coins as their general manager. Theme for today is for others. That is how we've built our business for the last 42 years, to be there for each other and endeavor to be there for our communities as well. If you've not visited our 2 new stores, I don't know when we stopped being new, but 2.5 years in, I still say it. So 42 years divided by 2.5, I don't know. We'll say it for a while. So 5 years ago, we said we need a plan, and we worked that plan into growing and developing our business and being able to move into the communities that we serve. And we're super excited to be in the West Des Moines community, to be able to be here today and sponsor these events so we can all have a better community. I'm just super excited to be here. So I'm also told to be brief because we've got lots to go through. I am going to get us started, if that's all right with everyone. So here we go. Lisa is our first up today. So I'm going to introduce, they're going to speak, we're going to move through and introduce and keep going. So you guys get your notebooks out and be ready for some great content coming up. Lisa Behrens, Director of Development for Meals from the Heartland. She's a nonprofit development director with a background in personal training, speaking, and coaching. Through her travels to 21 countries, as well as investing in the diversity of people within this country, Lisa has begun to see the world through a different lens. I love that. She believes in creating a workplace culture that is shaped by empathy, inspiration, and hard conversations. She will inspire you to use your voice to collaborate in productive ways as humans thrive in a safe space environment where they can see others and be seen themselves. Lisa, come on up. Let's give her a round of applause.
I am excited to be here today. Welcome. So I'm the first to kick this off. I want to just give a thank you before I start off to the West Des Moines Chamber, Catherine Harrington, for making this happen. And since it's Tina Talks, I have my sister Tina Lansing in the house. So I want to give a big shout out to my sister Tina for being here. So thank you. Yes, love my sister. All right, I'm going to dive in. So here we go. This is a picture of me. I am in Arizona and I am hiking one of the many mountains. I'm obviously posing for the camera, and I also am happy. Arizona is probably one of my favorite places. It's my happy place is what I call it. Tina and I actually just went there at spring break, and Melissa and I, my best friend, we just went there last week. So love AZ. What you don't see behind this picture is I'm unemployed. I had lost my job just a few months prior to this picture. I'm the former executive director of the South Suburban YMCA. And due to COVID and finances, they had to shut my branch down. I also had major back surgery 6 months prior to this photo. So I now have lovely rods and screws in my back, super sexy. And I have medical bills that are surmounting. And I have anxiety. So those are things you don't see in this picture. So today I want to have a conversation with you about how we can seek to see others through a different lens. And how do we do that? Because sometimes what we see, like I'm seeing you right here, Melanie, my friend, you're seeing this photo, but we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what's going on in people's lives. So that's what I want to talk about. Brene Brown says, connection is the energy that is created between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment. So I want to talk to you today in this short time, 3 strategies for connection. The first strategy is connecting intentionally with others. So we grab our calendars and we schedule those meetings with people we know, people we don't know. We meet with them. It can be over a cup of coffee, it can be over a cup of water. And if we can't meet with them in person, let's use the phone, or since COVID, we've all gotten familiar with Zoom, right? But connect intentionally with others. And something that I like to do when I'm meeting with people, if it's someone that I don't know, is having conversation starters. So some questions might be, I might start off with, tell me a little bit about yourself. What is your story? So yesterday I just met with Kara Matheson, who's on staff here at the West Des Moines Chamber. And that was the question I asked Kara. She dove into her story and I got to learn a little bit more about her. Another question sometimes I'll ask is, what are you passionate about in your job? So I have these conversation starters so that you can intentionally connect. If you are interested in receiving a copy of 10 great conversation starters, I put my email here at the bottom right on all the slides, and I would be happy to send you a PDF copy of that. So connect intentionally with others. The second thing I want to talk about, strategy, is creating a safe space to hear other stories, to learn other stories. So social media is great for many reasons. But behind social media, sometimes we get on Facebook, right? And we see these pictures of a family, or it can be of an individual. Some of you know, some of you don't know. And things look hunky-dory, right? They're going really great. But really, behind the scenes, they're struggling. And life is really hard. There might be somebody here today in this room. Things look great on the outside. Maybe you've put yourself together. But really, things aren't going so great. So it's really important for us, especially women, just to connect with one another and to create that safe space so we can learn other people's stories. And I just value that. When you're sitting with people and you're connecting intentionally, ask those conversation starter questions, but then go deeper and really listen and allow people to be genuine and allow people to be authentic and share their story. And they might not go super deep right away, but when we're sharing with one another, our cups are filled. And it helps sometimes to just process with someone else and to share what's going on. The third strategy is to connect with others, to connect others to one another. So this is a great venue right here. This has already been transpiring today. Some of you came in and you're introducing this person to this person. Molly Lopez, where are you at? Molly Lopez. Molly, where is Molly? Molly's way back there. There we go. So Molly is somebody that when I was thinking about what to speak on, Molly, you just came to my mind right away. Molly does such a great job. I'll be at an event and Molly will grab me and introduce me to someone else, and I just appreciate that. Several of you in here probably already do that, but make those connections. It really does help. And if you can't connect a person to a person, do an email introduction. So Carol Chambers, just a couple weeks ago, did an email introduction with Chris Nelson. He works for Shive Hattery, and she sent an email to both of us, and Carol just said, hey, Chris, Lisa, you two need to meet. Chris has been to Africa. I've been to 21 countries. And she just thought, Chris has this great story that he can share with me. So Chris and I saw each other last week at a West Des Moines Chamber event, and we're going to be meeting next month. So connect others because it expands our network for others. As I'm wrapping up, I want to share with you this picture. So what's behind this picture? It's the ultimate example of everything I just shared. This is my 50th birthday celebration. So this was last July of 2021, I turned 50. And I had this idea to invite women of each chapter in my life journey. Several of these women did not know each other. A couple of them are in the room here today. And I sent a calendar invite and I said, hey, would you be willing to join me to come celebrate my 50th? And I'm taking a gander here because I was not paying for everybody's airfare. So the cool thing is these 7 women said yes. And I remember some of us started off in Des Moines, Iowa, flying out of the airport. All of us convened in Atlanta, Georgia, because some of my friends live in other places. And it was really cool, just those connections. The first morning, do you guys remember? The very first morning, I got everybody in the living room and I created that safe space. And I thanked them for coming, first and foremost. But then I said, if you remember, I'm the only person in this circle of 8 that knows everybody's story. These next 4 days and 4 nights, I want this to be a safe space. Be vulnerable, no shame. One of our friends was going through stage 4 breast cancer. I knew another one in the group, her daughter was going through stage 4 breast cancer. Hey, let's connect. One of our friends was going through a divorce, and I knew some of the women in the group had been through a divorce. And then one of our friends, her husband, is battling with Parkinson's disease. So it was really cool to see that safe space created. And then the last piece of that component, you spend, ladies, we know especially, guys, 4 days, 4 nights together, you've bonded, right? So now there's friendships for life, which I think is really special. So in conclusion, what I want to wrap up with here is I want to challenge all of you in this room in the next 24 hours, connect with someone you know or don't know, connect with them intentionally. Then what I would like for you to do is create that safe space, learn their story. Even if it's someone you know, do a reset button, a refresher, because things happen, right? Things happen. Maybe on your way here, something happened, right? You just never know. And then connect others, because that's how for others, the theme for today, we continue to expand our network. It's not just us, but we keep expanding from our tribe to the people we work with, to our community, to our world. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Lisa, thank you so much. Everybody just take one second, just let that sink in. That was pretty cool. Thank you. The first of a lot of great content today, I am sure. Thank you for sharing. So Christine McIntyre is up next. She's a stage director for Des Moines Metro Opera. This summer, Christine will be directing the Des Moines Metro Opera world premiere of Jane Smiley's 1,000 Acres. Christine has directed more than 100 operas across the U.S. with a focus on new, contemporary, and American works with opera companies including Utah, Pittsburgh, Chicago, San Jose, Kansas City, New York, Austin, and many more. She began her career at the San Francisco Opera and then spent 8 years on the directing staff of the Metropolitan Opera. Christine was the founder and artistic director of Everyman, a San Francisco-based theater company for which she directed and designed critically acclaimed productions of works by Shakespeare, Ben Jonson, and Howard Brenton. Christine, come on up. Okay, so I bet I can guess what you do for a living, right? This is something that people actually say to me, usually men, often the guy sitting next to me on the airplane. I always take the bet, I always win. Now, I mean, part of that's because I'm an opera director, right? And I mean, opera, who does that? But part of it, I think, is that I don't look like what many people think a director looks like. I'm short, 5'3", curly hair that's not blue, and cute rather than striking, let's face it. And I'm a woman. And when we picture an auteur, a filmmaker, a composer, a Broadway director, choreographer, the picture in our mind is usually not a woman, right? We don't think of women as the kind of creative geniuses who are behind the lens or in charge of the production. So it took 80 years for a woman to win the Oscar for Best Director, Catherine Bigelow. I mean, she's now been followed by Chloe Zhao and Jane Campion, but 80 years is a really, really long time to wait. And I think the problem is how we think of genius to begin with. Because let's be honest, when we say genius, we mean these guys, right? When instead, we could go here. And the situation is really similar in opera and classical music. When we think of a conductor, we think of someone like this, Leopold Stokowski, male, crazy hands, white hair, right? Even though the reality now is somewhat different. And when we think of an opera composer, we probably think Giuseppe Verdi, European, white, male, dead. But happily, at Des Moines Metro Opera this summer, Kristen Kuster is composing our new world premiere of 1,000 Acres, based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Jane Smiley. And so this myth of the lone male creative genius locked in his attic, when inspiration suddenly strikes, he starts churning out great masterworks and great ideas. Obviously, this is not unique to the arts. You see it a lot in tech, in the mythology of people like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. I could go on and on. And the problem is that this makes creative work feel like something women can't access, and it makes us undervalue the creative work that women produce. So as someone who's worked professionally in the performing arts for 28 years, I've come to understand that creativity works really differently than what that myth would tell us. It's much more accessible than we realize. So here are some things that I've learned. It's never just one person. Creativity is actually about collaboration. It's easy to think that if you don't do it by yourself, it doesn't really count. You aren't a real creative artist, right? Because that's what the myth tells us. And when I first became a director, I thought it all had to be me, and that if the ideas weren't entirely mine, that I was cheating, or worse, I was an imposter. I wasn't the real deal. And I eventually realized that the best creative process is one that involves others, designers, singers, composers, conductors, that it's actually a team. Now, we know that women collaborate particularly well, so it's a huge shame that we don't value collaboration in creative work, right? If it takes a village to raise a child, I assure you, it takes a village to make an opera. Now, I'm not saying I don't have great ideas and that I don't come up with the idea where we start in a production process, but I am saying that behind every production I have ever put on stage, there is a great team of people behind it working together. Okay, number 2. Inspiration does not strike like lightning. When we think of it that way, I think it makes it impossible to start, right? And I think it scares a lot of people off because it makes it seem like creative work is only something that can be done by the special chosen few, right? At the beginning of a show, I used to be overwhelmed by the immensity of it all, worried that I didn't have enough brilliant ideas. And what was I going to do if inspiration didn't strike like lightning? What happens if I go into my studio and I sit down at the table and nothing happens? And I've learned that it's actually about working every day in small chunks. It's about doing the prep work, the grunt work, the boring stuff. It's just about starting. And when you start, the ideas come. And the corollary is also true. If you don't start, the ideas won't come. Now, when I sit down to block a show, which is the process of figuring out what happens on stage at every moment, I open the score and there's nothing written. There's this terrible blankness. And then I remember that at that moment, I don't need to know all the answers. I don't need to fill in the entire score in that moment. I just need to start. Number 3, being generous spurs creativity. Now, I know the theme is for others. I would hope in the performing arts that we are always working for others because we serve an audience, and hopefully that keeps us honest. So I'm a storyteller, right? I tell stories to a wide variety of people, sometimes in an opera house, sometimes in a theater, a room, a garden, on an army base, and most recently online and in film. And I like to say that a bad idea is one that the audience doesn't get. And a good idea is one that the audience does get. And my job as a director is to put more good ideas on stage than bad ideas. To tell a story to the actual people who are in the audience. And that makes me tell better stories and tell those stories more effectively. And I think that generosity, that sense of for others, needs to be true not only in how we deliver the work, but in how we create the work. And for me, that's about the way I shape the process. My job as a director is to create safe space for other people to do their best work. I think that's something I do particularly well as a woman. I think that's something the lone male creative genius locked in his attic does particularly poorly. When creative artists feel safe and engaged, they bring me their best work and the production flourishes. And let's admit that sometimes I get the best show by getting out of the way. It's a little hard on the ego, but it's true. I have 116 operas to my credit now and several decades in the arts, and my hope is that now I can extend this generosity, this sense of for others, into the future. These are some of the young female directors who are coming up behind me. They've all assisted me on shows, and I've tried my best to mentor and encourage them and create space for them and their ideas. There are women who can amplify the things that I've just said and who can continue to bust the myth of what a creative artist looks like. And so no, I don't fit that image of the lone male creative genius locked in his attic. But embracing these ideas has allowed me to do work that looks like this. All of the shows that you see in these photographs were created here in Des Moines at Des Moines Metro Opera. I was the first woman to direct at the company. I've been fortunate enough to direct more shows there than anyone else, male or female, in the last decade. And my great hope is that soon, one of those young female directors will break my record and create one of her own. Thank you. Wow, that was awesome. Thank you. I have one thing to say about that. When you said just to start, I had a conversation in this room today before we got started when someone said yes to just starting. I feel like there's somebody else in this room that needs to hear that and believe that for themselves. So thank you for saying that out loud. Liz Need is on next, and she's awesome. I think this is so fun. I'm getting to introduce and talk about people that I have seen and met and worked with and talked to along the way. This is just fun. Liz Need is an adventure speaker, most recently climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and competing in the Iowa Strongman Games. Wow. She has authored several best-selling books, Curry Up, an ethnic cookbook. See, I told you, it's you. I said to all of the speakers, I am going to just mess up super on somebody's. It's you, Liz. Her work has been ranked in BuzzFeed and reviewed by the Huffington Post. Need created and hosted Live Dare, an Emmy-nominated television show. She blogs for Huffington Post, and she knows. She is a skilled storyteller and teacher using her personal and professional experience to create powerful personal development and team building strategies. Whether she is climbing a mountain, flipping 300-pound tires, producing an award-winning television show, or exploring her roots in India, her audiences learn valuable lessons to build an influential life. She also balances her passion-driven career with a busy family, raising 7 kids in a blended family with her husband, a retired Army major. Liz, come on up here.
Oh my gosh. So I'm Liz Need. I am a professional speaker. This is what I do for a living. People pay me to speak. And so, but they don't pay me to speak for 10 minutes. So I want you to know there's an added pressure with that. I'm a storyteller. I like to wind my way through a story, make it really juicy. That is not going to happen today. I'm going to be very careful. So getting to the point, I had a traumatic brain injury. I had an aortic dissection, which your aorta, your main aorta that comes ascending from your heart, split. And for 9 minutes, I didn't have any blood going to my brain or my heart. And my heart stopped 3 times, and I had multiple strokes. All of this happened in December. So I'm standing before you as a miracle. Like I really shouldn't be here. I know. And it's amazing. But I don't remember an entire month of my life from mid-December to mid-January. I woke up mid-January and kind of started my way back. And so people are like, you need to tell your story. And I'm like, how do I tell you about something that I literally don't recollect at all? I tell everyone about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, but I was there, eyes open, brain working. I'm describing what happened, what I remember. But in this situation, I'm describing what happened after. And it's traumatic, it's dramatic. So I'm gonna be answering the question of who am I? And this is the second time I've given this presentation. No pressure at all. I've already used up a whole minute, at least. Okay, so who is Liz Need? I've always known who I am. I mean, when I was a kid and I was getting spanked by my parents for being too Liz Need, I was like, oh, that's the Liz Need in me. I knew. Liz Need gets shushed. Liz Need gets hurried. Liz Need is like, get to the point. We want to know what you have to say, but we have another person coming up. That is Liz Need. So I've always known who I am for the last, I would say, I've been speaking for 15 years. For the last 8 or 9 years, I've really known who I am through my to-do list. Like I'm one of those people who I go to my desk and I open that freaking book and I write down everything that I have going on, and it truly reflects who I am. I love looking back at the old pages and say, well, this is it. This is my main place. Who loves lists in this group? Who writes things down after they've done it and crossed it off because it feels good? Yeah, me. I'm totally like that. I like the feeling of crossing things off. And in, what was the date? December. Yeah, December. My husband knows, he was there. He remembers. December 9th, that was like the show was over on December 9th. And I stopped doing lists for a month. It was like the proof of who I was. You know, people talk about journaling. I love journaling. I also highly recommend it. But my list, my planner, was proof of who I was and what I could do and what I could accomplish. It was like a mountain I climbed every year, that I took time to find the perfect planner, and I knew that thing was going to be by my side for the year. And at the end of the year, it would proclaim, this is Liz Need. This is what she can do. This is her dream. This is what she's capable of. It was my proof. That year, 2021, was a great year. It was my best financial year as a speaker. I had more good clients, both on the speaking side and the coaching side. I was so proud of that year. I set goals, financial goals, and I made them over and over again. And I really started to think like, I'm thinking too small. These things are too easy to accomplish. I set goals. I decided I was going to pay my credit cards off, so I paid every single credit card off. Then they started sending me new ones. And I was like, oh, this is good. I'll have a new card and I won't charge it, which is not what happened, right, Ken? I've maximum, sorry. Maybe that went with the brain injury, I don't know. I did this thing, have you heard the 5,500 days? You put 500 envelopes and you put $1 in one, $2 in two, all the way up to 500. And when you're done filling the 500 envelopes, you have $5,000. So I started doing that. And I accumulated money so quickly. And I wanted to do it because my son was getting married. And I really wanted to do my part, even though I'm mother of the groom, still wanted to do my part. And the bank tellers at First National Bank knew me. They're like, oh, you got another bunch of money, don't you? They knew how to give me 1s and 2s and 5s and 10s so I could stuff my envelopes. And my kids would walk by my office and see me with money all around and stuffing envelopes. And I mean, I got to 5,000. I was able to give him a shoebox full of money. I was so proud of it. That was 2021 for me. I had to purchase a lot of clothing from Amazon so that I could wear them during my speaking engagements. And the other thing that I did that was notable is I bought all the Christmas presents for my kids by November. I had everything done. And it was listed out and you knew who was going to get what, and it was shoved in a closet. And that was my year. That was who Liz was. And my kids will talk about it because it was a transformation. It was kind of me growing my wings a little bigger. Like I wasn't trying to fly. I was like, I'm flexing. I'm flexing with the things that I can do. I was independent and I was strong. And I did a lot of things for the kids too. Oh, I don't know what that's about. Okay. I did a lot of things for the kids too. I was mom. I signed up for the mom things. I was the team mom. I was the mom of moms. I was the go-to mom. And I felt so capable that I could do the financial thing and the mom thing at the same time. Do you ever fear that you can't do it? Like if you're doing well financially, you're failing as a wife or a mother? Raise your hand if you've ever, it's like one or the other. So I was like, I found the Holy Grail. I can do it. I am both financially capable and a mom to watch out for. I kept wanting to, I told people about it. I was like, you have got to do this thing that I'm doing. And I don't know if it wasn't financial. It was stepping into who I was. That was what 2021 was. So I kind of think it's funny that this thing happened because it was right at the moment when I figured out how powerful I could be that the bottom completely fell out of my little world that I was creating. I was going to talk about that. Never mind. Never mind. Oh, okay, never mind. You saw all of that. Okay, I know I need to do this. Let's see if I can. Can I do this? Let's see. Oh, there we go.
Call my dad. When we get
Okay,
back
so
to
this
the
is me.
room, we'll call my dad. Okay?
This is me first
saying hello?
steps. Oh, jeez, shush. Okay. Yeah, so what you're seeing is a person, when I went to the hospital, I spent about 12 hours waiting to have surgery. We still don't know how it happened because I'm very healthy. Everything seems intact. I run, I'm very careful with my diet. But yeah, it was crazy. 12 hours later, I had undergone massive surgery. I have like a zipper right here. I'll show you. This is, can you start it? Did you? Oh, thank you. So this is shortly after. There's my man. He was by my side the whole time. He was by my side. He never left. He drove me to every doctor's appointment. He took over at that time. I'm very lucky. Can we give him a round of applause? I really, seriously. Thank you, Ken. Here's what, oh, no, never mind. Okay, here, and one more. My kids were by my side. You know, you have that funny thing where you wonder whether your kids understand how important you are. I know how important they think I am. They had go ahead and start it. They had a calendar. I always had a kid around me. So they would wait for me to wake up. And every single thing I did, this is George Michael, any 80s music, I was really excited about it. But I was stopped. I was stopped from that journey I am telling you about to this. I was out cold. I don't remember it. So weird. Oh, is that a video? Okay, I don't know. I think I was high all the time for the full month. Yeah. And so I was stopped on a bed, out cold, without a memory, not pursuing speaking or coaching or any of my great goals for a month. And I woke up in mid-January and I was like, what's going on? Why is everyone looking at me weird? I was intubated. I had like a colostomy bag. It was not cute. It was not cute. What I want you to know is that I spent 15 years building this thing. I was so excited to be at the top of my own mountain. And it took a month for it to go away. Like everyone stopped calling. I got a lot of cards. My children raised $30,000 for me. Des Moines is amazing. The people gave me money because my kids said, you know, she can't make money speaking. We don't know when she's going to be back. I was sleeping. I was barely talking. We didn't know when it was going to end. And so I had to answer a question, an important question that I had been answering, like, God, you know what? You know who I am? I'm a powerful woman. You know who I am? I'm capable, I'm strong, I'm smart. I can do anything I put my mind to. And so suddenly I had the question of, like, who am I? Recovery from brain trauma is so strange because there were other people that I had met through rehab that had a stroke and fallen off of their car or sat in their kitchen for hours waiting for their family to find them. That's not how it worked for me. I had a brain injury and then I was out like a light for a month. And I don't remember how hard it was. I can tell you, if you corner Ken and ask him, he still cries talking about it. It was scary to hear that I died and that someone had to make a decision to revive me, or I would not be sitting here today. That's actually what happened to me. So I went to rehab and they gave me puzzles. Like, who likes Sudoku? I hate Sudoku. I'm so bad at it. I'm terrible at it. And a lot of card games and other things. Everything I was bad at. They're like, oh, it's brain injury. I'm like, no, I was bad at it before. But okay. I mean, really. And then I would go home and I would be myself and my family would stare at me like, why is she acting this way? I'm like, what? I'm normal. I'm fine. They took my phone away from me and said I was addicted. I wanted to go see my kid run. Remember that? I mean, Ken had to stand in front of the door and bar me from leaving. They didn't think that a 7-hour drive one way was going to be good for me. Fine. But what was happening is I was losing everything I built. I woke up panicked. I was like, who am I if I am not a speaker? Who am I if I am not that woman making that money, paying off those cards, doing things that she never thought she could do? The go-to mom, the go-to wife. Who am I? That was the big question. Sorry, this is not a presentation I've done a ton of times. You can tell. It was so quiet. Like, I thought, who am I if no one's calling me to speak? You didn't call me to speak. How was I supposed to know who I was? And so the big question of who am I had to answer without doing anything. Like, who's a productive person in this group? If someone took away your productivity, would you know who you were? Like, would there be ground to stand on? Would you feel like, I don't know if I can do it? I felt like one of those socks, like, every day. I told my husband I used to wake up with a purpose. Now I have no idea. I'm going to go to a doctor's appointment. I'm going to go to rehab. I'm going to go be bad at Sudoku. Yay. And take your pills. You always have to I take pills in the morning and pills at night. And I went for a run the other day and I was like planning, like, what happens if I collapse? I'll crawl up to that door, call my husband. I've collapsed. Like, these are the things that were going through my head. So as I was thinking of who I probably a month ago, I wrote down, I got a notebook. I love a notebook and good markers. Like, I do. I just, don't I love? And yes, I do. He's like, I know, Liz, I know. And I wrote down who I was. Everywhere I looked, there was a barrier. It was hard to see myself through the barriers. But I was alone. My kids had left to go back to their work, and my husband had to leave some of the time, and I couldn't be in rehab 24/7. And so who was I without these lists? And so I was honest with myself, and I said, I'm afraid. I'm not sure what to do next. I'm scared of a life without lists. I don't know who I am. Weird, right? Like, Liz Need knows who Liz Need is. No, she doesn't. And so I decided, I wrote down everything I was feeling pretty negative. And then I decided who I was. And I realized that who I am is a decision that I make every day. Who you are is a decision. And so I am strong, I'm fearless, I'm loving, I'm having something to offer, I'm passionate, driven, focused, and smiling. And when I was done with that list, it was kind of like a gratitude thing. I was like, Like, woo! I'm Liz. This is what Liz means. I almost canceled, Catherine. I almost didn't want to do this because I was like, I don't know what the heck I'm going to say. I almost died. I didn't die. That was all I had. But what I want you to do, it's not compelling, as exciting it is. What I want you to do is take your phone out and fill in the I am, one thing. And if you can't think of anything, if there's someone who knows you, fill it in. Who are you? You're gorgeous, first of all. You look good. And you're attentive, and no one has looked at their watches. I gotta be over 10 minutes, like 12, 15 minutes. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay, but just for a second, just decide, what is the world gonna see from you? Because I decided to take a chance on myself. I decided to take a chance on my list and fill out the I am. I am not the list. I am not my paid off credit cards. I am not a box of cash, $5,000 that I handed to my kid. I am not the go-to mom. I am these things. And from these things that I've decided, more will come. So 2022 is my year. This is the year that I climb out of the basement and I become who I think I am, because what I think is what I will see. And so decide right now, like decide to do it. I ask you to do it, do it. Take a second, decide who you are right now, and then walk in it, because you're perfectly capable and I believe in you.
Thank you for not canceling. Wow, that was pretty powerful. Thank you, Liz. All right, you guys, I gave up and got my readers out. See if this goes any better for Melissa than it did for Liz. Melissa Vine is the executive director of The Beacon. A licensed mental health counselor with 13 years of experience in business ownership, she's a professional speaker and executive director at The Beacon, a trauma-informed, equity-centered home and programming for women recovering from domestic violence, incarceration, and substance use. As a professional speaker, leader, and a domestic violence survivor, she passionately empowers others to act with courage in the face of life and work challenges. She received a bachelor's in communication studies in 2002, graduated summa cum laude with a master's in professional counseling in 2016, and is a JD candidate with a full tuition scholarship at Drake Law School as an Iowa State Supreme Court Justice Scholar. Melissa was the 2022 Remarkable Woman of the Year and the 2021 class of the Des Moines Business Record's 40 Under 40, 2018 recipient of One to Watch, and the 2014 recipient of Service Business of the Year by the Grinnell Chamber of Commerce. What an amazing list and amazing accomplishments. Come on up, Melissa.
Hi, I am Melissa Vine, and I am grateful to be here. Today, I'm going to tell you why kindness is scary. But first, do you know what is not scary? Judging people. And I'm really good at it. I was an expert. I judged people all the time. For years, I wrote in my journal that I want to stop judging people, but I could not stop. My habitual judging stemmed from perfectionism, which had me in a constant state of comparison. When I was winning, I felt good. I felt better than others. And when I was losing, I felt bad. And so when you're functioning from a place of perfectionism, you have to be judging people. If you don't judge people, the system falls apart. So I became really good at it. I could judge you for how much TV you watch, what time your alarm goes off in the morning, how well your kids are behaved, how many hours you volunteer, what your career path was, how big your house was, how much money's in your bank account. Nothing was off limits. I would judge all the things. Sometimes out loud. And in the summer of 2008, I wrote something different in my journal. I asked for humility. I didn't really know what it meant at the time. And that summer, I had 6, that's right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people confront me and tell me that the way I interacted with them was hurtful. In that first interaction, I felt a fire burning in my chest. I was so ashamed because I thought so highly of myself. It really broke me, and I just wanted to fall through the floor. By about the 5th or 6th interaction, it got to be, okay, here we go again. What do you got for me? But that's how shame works. So if you avoid it, if you stuff it down, you're up here trying to perform and cover it up while that shame is just growing and growing down there. But when you bring it up to the surface and you sit in it, that's when you can learn something from it. So by 2012, I thought that my head was in a more judgment-free zone. But then I went through a divorce. I remember the morning that I announced it to my religious group. So we had just finished studying a chapter about love when I announced, I'm in an abusive marriage and I need to get out. The room went completely silent. After an awkward pause, I heard a nervous laugh and then a comment, well, maybe you should meet with an older couple for some mentorship first. And then the group leader said, do you want me to go get some sandwiches for lunch? The weight of their judgment hurt more than the circumstances that I was going through. And in the days that followed, my email, my mailbox, my front door was bombarded with more judgment and rules and advice and all of the ways that I was doing things wrong. And then once I filed for divorce, I found myself going from being this wealthy business owner to being in almost absolute poverty, literally overnight. So here I am with 4 little boys, ages 4, 6, 8, and 9, no job, no resume, almost no money, and almost no friends. And in those days, I learned what it felt like to be the recipient of the kind of judgment that I had so easily heaped on other people when I didn't think they met my standards. That took me to another level of exploring what damage that judgment can do. Slowly, I began to put my life back together. My first job was at Hy-Vee for $8.50 an hour until I could find full-time work as a victim advocate of victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. I went back and got my master's in mental health counseling, created a supportive group of friends, and began to live as a more authentic person to the people in my life. 1 year after my divorce, I stopped receiving child support unexpectedly. And after a year of advocating for it unsuccessfully, I gave up and I said, you know what? I'm just gonna learn how to make more money myself. And I didn't have enough money in my bank account to purchase a business, which is what I knew how to do. So I thought, why not try starting one? I'm sometimes a little bit too optimistic. So I went to the Chamber of Commerce in small town Iowa where I lived at the time. And I asked, what does the town need? So they had just finished focus groups around this issue. So it was perfect timing. They said, we want a bakery. Oh, okay. No experience in the food industry. Never started a business before. Sure, why not, right? So I spent the next 2.5 months traveling to other large cities, touring their bakeries, taking notes and pictures. I hired a baker from the Ritz-Carlton in California. We made our menu. I got a historic building in downtown, got a grant from the city, restored it, remodeled it, and opened this beautiful bakery for my town. I was proud and excited. We opened those doors on opening weekend and the crowds flooded in, small town, everyone had to check out the new place. And what I was met with, most of all, was anger. Where are the donuts? Donuts? I said, you wanted a bakery, right? So in my haste to open this quickly, I didn't take the time to ask the town, what do you mean by bakery? And as you know, in small towns, sometimes they have their own subculture and words can mean different things. So for 70 years in this town, they'd had a bakery, but it was actually fried food shop. So I ended up selling it at a significant loss after it leaked money for several months, and I knew it wasn't going to turn around. So I sold it to someone who had the capital to remodel again and put in their beloved fryer so they could have their donuts. But this was the third time in my life that I felt the immense weight of shame. I can still remember sitting at one of those adorable little bakery tables with my head in my hands, wanting to again fall through the floor. Here we'd been for almost 2 years now. I've been working 80 hours a week to try to put my life back together. I was making $1,500 a month on average with me and 4 boys because I was leaking money out this bakery. I mean, I don't even know how we were surviving at that point, but we were. And I felt like a complete loser. And as I sat in that shame once again, I had to realize that I was attaching my value to my performance. And if I was going to do some deeper work on this judgment issue, I was going to have to address that. So then the second business I started, it did turn a profit. Eventually, I became a fully licensed mental health counselor. We moved to Des Moines. I sold that business. I became the executive director at the Beacon, and then I have a speaking business on the side. But I didn't get here because of success. I got here because of failure. And that is the willingness to sit in that failure and learn hard things about myself and the world. We don't get to success through success. We get to success through owning our story, not being afraid of the things that have happened to us and the choices that we have made. What are those things about your story that are scary? What are the things that you'd rather hide? I was a therapist for many years, so I've seen all kinds of people, and I can tell you every single one of them has things they'd rather hide, has things they feel ashamed about, no matter how high or low they are in the social standing. We all have them. To acknowledge your pain and your fears and your shame is the greatest act of kindness that you can give to yourself. But it is scary. Kindness is scary, but it's supposed to feel that way. And in order to be kind to others, we must first be kind to ourselves. Have you noticed that there are 2 voices in your head? You literally have a conversation going all day where you're trying to think of one thing and then the other side is counterbalancing it and they're talking back and forth, making decisions, right? When there are 2 voices, that's called a relationship. So you do literally have a relationship with yourself. Do those voices speak kindly to each other? Do they encourage each other? Do they see the best in each other? Because as they start to be kinder to each other, you begin to heal. And then it's easier to be kinder to others and to extend that healing to others. So I took my turn now. Now it's your turn. When you leave today, to find that person, that safe person, whether it be a friend or a professional, to sit in your shame, to share your story. It will be scary, but I promise it will be worth it.
Thank you so much for your willingness to share and be vulnerable. Wow, you guys, don't we feel like we just need another pause and just let that all sink in. Thank you so much for sharing some really important work there. To be kind to yourself, that's what stuck with me the most. That's the hardest. All right, Beth Shelton. I don't even want to read these words because I just want to say fun things about you that I've seen. Can I do that? Because this doesn't work either, obviously. I have watched this incredible woman just a little bit from afar. You know, I sponsor here today, and at Christopher's, we really find the Girl Scouts an important foundation of our community, because when we serve those girls and we build strong girls, they become strong women. And a strong woman is going to come up here and say some pretty amazing things. I have watched her passionately speak about the kids in her group, and that's all that matters. I love that about you. I've watched you speak to your team in kind and uplifting ways. I've listened to you speak about when it's tough, what you do as a team, and you, ma'am, are pretty cool. So that is what I wanted to say about you, because I got to watch that from afar, and these words are really important. You have done great, great things for your community and your country and for the Girl Scouts, but I want you to come up now because you've got more important things to say than I do.
Well, thank you so much for those kind words. It is so fun to hear everyone's speeches so far, because there's so many parallels and things that I would like to say I'm writing them down on my to-do list, but that's really aspirational, because I'm one of those that, like, you know where my to-do list is, like right here, and it's really bad. So I probably owe like 6 of you email responses because it's on my to-do list. So sorry about that. Sorry about that. I just want to say a quick, let's talk a little bit about like the last 2 years, which I feel like have been really transformative for a lot of people, including me. So this is Beth pre-pandemic. I actually have people that literally don't recognize me now that I saw like pre-pandemic, like 2 years ago, right? And I have some friends. So when you look at this picture, I feel like what we're going to talk a little bit about is success and failure. And I feel like this sort of was like a professional headshot. This was my idea of success at the time. And I have friends who the last 2 years have been like, the pandemic honestly is one of the best things that's ever happened, right? I'm working from home. My spouse and I are closer than ever. I get more time with my kids. Like, they're really joyful about that. If that's how you feel, get out. We don't want your energy here. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. Because then there's like some people where you're like, oh my God, like what happened to them, right? And I'm in that camp. It looks like I've been in prison for the past 2 years. And then like, here we are. So this is Beth today and the direction we're going. Now, I want to talk a little bit about success. So when I think about pre-pandemic Beth and what I think success, what I thought success looked like, there's a lot of accolades that I sort of felt proud of and that my organization is proud of. And that's really good. Objectively, that's really good stuff. And in January of 2020, the Des Moines Register did a feature called The 15 People to Watch, and they did my feature in January that year. And I just want to say, if you were watching me in 2020, like that was really not good timing, right? To take a close look at someone. In all actuality, I sat with my therapist in the middle of 2020 and I said, how can I take my own life without hurting my 3 kids? And he said, I think you can't do that, Beth. Let's work on creating a life you don't want to escape from. And my life was absolutely full of hurdles and failures. Absolutely. This is smoke and mirrors. It doesn't mean a single thing. So I want to talk about some of those hurdles, some of those hard things. Number one, like the worldwide pandemic, right? As a leader of an organization, we have 120 employees. We serve 14,000 kids. Like all of a sudden I was trying to make decisions like, how to keep people safe. I mean, let's kind of go back to our state of our mental state in March of 2020. Like you didn't look at your neighbors, right? You didn't peek outside the door. Like, are people going to die on my watch? Should we have masks? Do we bring people to work? How do we telecommute? We literally have staff who don't have laptops. Like how are we supposed to do this? We don't have some mothership telling us what to do. As a small nonprofit in Iowa, we were writing every policy and making every decision. I also want to let you know our largest line of revenue, maybe you've heard of it. It's called the Girl Scout Cookie Program. Do you want to know when it happens? It happens in March, right? Like there's a really, really big thing that happens in March that we are very reliant on as an organization. We had millions of dollars of cookies out in trunks and garages and wagons, and the world came to a standstill, right? From a cash flow perspective, that's a really bad thing. So it was just a hard time. We went from having what was to be a record year to literally within days, not sure we were going to make payroll. Like really tough time, okay? So in the middle of all of that, right, these safety issues, these staff issues, cash flow issues, payroll issues, all of a sudden we have caregiving issues. Now, the greatest joy in my life are my 3 kids. However, asterisks, like when the school sent them home for spring break in March of 2020, they wouldn't take them back. And all of a sudden, I'm trying to solve the world's problems And I've got 3 children that will not leave me alone. So when we talk about failure, I just want to be very real here, right? Like I would be on the Zoom call solving the world's problems, and I would have a kid right here. Mom. Of course, I'm doing like the mom face, like, yeah. Like, I go, okay, you 4 go to this city to look for hand sanitizer. And then I've got the kid, right? And they would be like, what's for lunch? I'm like, I don't know. I don't do that. That's not my thing. Like, that's not my issue. So when we like parenting, like Liz was talking about, like when you feel like you're killing it as a parent, I was not killing it, right? Like, I'm like, we downloaded Instacart on my children's app so they could order the groceries because like, I can't handle this. This is too much. Like, I am a working woman. I love you guys from like after 5 o'clock at night. Like, I can't help you with this. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. I don't know about anybody else, but there's like that moment in the pandemic where it felt like I cannot take anymore, right? On the kitchen floor sobbing. This is too hard. I miss my friends. I miss travel. I miss my office. I miss all of it. I miss events. I miss seeing people. That was like 11 days into the pandemic for me that I had that like meltdown moment, right? So I feel like my resilience cup was really low to start with. And that's really what this is about. So then I want to talk a little bit about another hard thing that really layered on this, and it's very real. Marriage can be very difficult anyway, in my experience. And we were already in marriage counseling before the pandemic. If there's one surefire way to push you over the edge, it's lock it in the same house with someone and you can't ever get away, right? Like if you're already at the end of the rope, that doesn't help. So in the end, not to make light of it, we did get divorced, and it was so painful and difficult. Talk about agonizing every step of the way, and the kids and the job, right? So really, really big, hard things. And then it feels like such a failure. Talk about shame, embarrassment, and trying to be a single parent through all of this. And I did what a lot of data says a lot of people are doing is I drank more, right? It was one of the outlets that made me feel less anxious and able to cope with life better, right? And then from the outside, when we think about success and failure, still getting these accolades, right? Still getting speaking engagements, all of those things, still breaking records, right? And drinking more and really feeling terrible about it. And it didn't mean that there were legal issues and liability issues, but I knew it was a huge issue in my life and I didn't want to face it over and over and over. I tried to stop drinking 17 times in 2021. And I am now 10 months sober. So sobriety. Thank you for that. It is worth applauding because in the words of Liz Need, I almost died and then I didn't. So thank you for that. That kind of sums it up, Liz. And in the end, of all these hard things, I can tell you none of these hard things prepared me for the hardest thing of all. And I don't know if you guys have been through this, but here we go. Online dating. As a woman in my 40s, I just gotta say, it is a disaster out there. Like, you can kind of tell yourself a story that it might sound kind of fun to date, especially if you've been married a long time, and then it was hard, and then, it's like, that was kind of fun. Like, my friends that are single, that was kind of fun. No, it's not. Like, I just want to level set, but no, it's not. No, it's not. So, there's the apps, right? Like, cell phones literally weren't a thing when I first got married, right? So now it's all in the apps and the swiping the left and the right. And what do you think? And you get the, hey, cutie, no, right? Like, no. You find out really quick, like, the things that you didn't know you cared about. For me, it's punctuation. Like, you have to have, like, a basic, like, I'm going to need a capital letter at the beginning and a period at the end to even think about, it. So, like, the very best proposition I got was, like, from one, it was like, hey, I think we have some things in common. Would you like to have coffee? And I was like, we do have some things in common. And he's like, do you have any questions, for me? Would you like to get to know me? Any questions? I'm like, hey, I actually do have a few questions. Have you worked out your childhood trauma with a licensed therapist? And do you acknowledge that the wage gap is real? Like, if so, we can move ahead. So, like, I just want to say there's a lot of really things that I am not doing well. There's a really good list to start us right there. So here's what I've learned in the last 2 years. We kind of have 3 choices. And you don't have to wait until your life is falling apart to start loving yourself and take care of yourself. And what I realized is so much of my life, to what Melissa was talking about, so much of my life was centered on external things, right? Whether it was work or travel or success or, board meetings, things that are objectively not bad, but that's what was filling my bucket, right? When Liz said, who am I without these things? I didn't know who I was once the pandemic hit. And then I didn't have resources. I didn't know how to self-love. I didn't even know what that meant because I had all these external things that previously filled me up. And when I didn't have them, I didn't know how to take care of myself. So you kind of have three choices when things get hard. Number one, can you just get over it? Number two, can you remove yourself? And number three, can you create a solution? So here's an example of something I just got over, right? I had this perception of what it meant to look like being the CEO of the Girl Scouts, to look like an executive. And it's just not true, right? It was the lady in that picture, right? That headshot. So I had the long hair and the dress a certain way. Now I dress kind of sassy. I have purple hair, in case you didn't notice today, like it might be different tomorrow. And I bought an old vintage Jeep, right? I got divorced and things were hard. I always wanted a Jeep. It doesn't have a top on it. And I realized within days, you can't have long hair and a topless Jeep. One of these has got to go. And you can see which one won. So, right? So I just got over it. Like this perception of what success or executives or what leadership is supposed to even look like, it doesn't matter. That's something I just got over. Can you remove yourself? There's some things we can remove ourselves from, right? And sometimes it's really, really hard. It might be a job. It might be a relationship. It might be a friendship. It might be a marriage. It might be a relationship with alcohol, right? Or something else. If it's not serving us, can you remove yourself? And if not, number three, can you create a solution? When I encounter hard things now, here's where I go right away. That being the case, how shall I proceed? Like I just stop all the arguments in my head about like, well, but what about this? And it's not fair. And I don't really want it. No, that being the case, how shall I proceed? Okay. So when we think about that now at work and at home and in life, I go to this place. What if I said we had to do it, right? What would the solution need to look like? Not should we or shouldn't we? What if I said we had to do this thing? Let's think about what that plan would look like. What if I had to leave a marriage? What if I had to create a solution for our team to figure out the caregiving crisis, to bring their children to work, to engage in flexible remote work when we are a relationship building organization? Like, what if we had to do it? Let's think outside the box. It sounds crazy, but let's do it. So the last example, the thing that I got over was my image, my hair, whatever, right? What people think. The thing I ruined myself from were the toxic things that were not serving me well in life, right? Whether it was a relationship, whether it was alcohol. And the thing I tried to create a solution for, I would like to say it was that I wanted to get fit and be healthier. That is not the case when I went to the gym in 2020. The truth is, I wanted to get away from my kids for a little while. Like the only place that was open in 2020 where I could go and get away was the gym, right? So I went and joined a gym. And what I found out really early on is that it was really hard with one hand in some cases. Like some of the things we did. In fact, almost everything we did was hard. So this is a picture of my hand. After every single kickboxing class, I would go in there. Turns out boxing is really, really good for your mental health when you're struggling, right? And I'm going to box. And then pretty soon, after every class, my hand would be bruised like this. And instead of just sort of telling myself a story that I wasn't going to be able to do this, I went and talked to the head coach, and he's like, hey, I noticed that you're experiencing some bruising. Like, what can we do? And he went and got a custom glove made for me. And now I wear two gloves on my little hand. One is tiny and custom made, and then my other glove fits over it. And it's a perfect solution. Like, we can definitely tell ourselves, there's this hurdle, here's this hard thing. What options do we have? Like for 6 months, I just got over it, right? Every day my hand is bruised. I can get over that for a while, but also we could create some solutions. They also came up with some great equipment. I was so reluctant to lift weights. I wanted to go in there and just do cardio, right? That's it. I don't want to do the other stuff. It's not going to work. And he said, no, we're going to make it work. And I went to Farrell's for a full year before I decided to do a resistance class because I didn't think I'd be able to do it. And he created this Velcro strap and there's carabiners and we can hook them on and off quickly. And he just did that thing that I try to do for others, which is create a solution, right? Here's this person struggling. What if we stop and take 60 seconds and see their hurdle and acknowledge it and do our part to see what we can to help. And it's been transformative. So when I started joking in the beginning about looks like I've been in prison and I've got muscles, that's because it's really hard. I spent 43 years not having a muscle because I didn't think I could do it, right? I couldn't get resistance because I couldn't hold anything. So when I say I put blood, sweat, and tears in, like I literally put blood and blisters and sweat and right, like my skin and my body is tearing because I just can't do it the same way. I'm going to close with this. When we think about success and failure, For so long, so many of us, right? And almost every speaker has talked about it so far, in some way thinking about that external input, right? Those logos, the speaking engagements, the cover of the register, whatever, right? The external thing, they're not objectively bad. But it's not that's success. Success is working toward a goal and optimizing your learning and growth along the way. So what's failure then? Like, there's so many amazing award ceremonies in this community. I love them all. It's so exciting. But we do kind of tend to celebrate success. I am here for that. Man, somebody write this down and put it together, right? Maybe the Girl Scouts should do it, right? Somebody put that together that says, like, these are the gritty failure, or like the fearless failures, the people that are missing the freaking mark. Like, I want to celebrate those people, right? Because that's really what it's about. It's like trudging through the path. Like, we're all doing it. We're trudging. We're gritty. It's hard. And let's not just celebrate if we happen to hit the outcome. I'll close with this. Failure to me today now has nothing to do with the outcome. And I'm aspirational. I like goals. I like to hit them. But I'm not a success or failure based on that. I'm only a failure when I lose my sense of self. And no one else gets to tell me that, right? My board of directors, they're really important. I want to keep them happy. They don't get to tell me if I'm a failure, right? The awards ceremonies, the speaking engagements, whatever the metric or the thing is, however many cookies we sell, however many kids we serve at camp, however many, guys ghost me on an online dating app, right? Like, that's not a failure. Right? I win the gritty award on that one, if you're going to do that. It's only when you lose your sense of self. That's the only time that it's a failure. James Clear wrote the book Atomic Habits, which is such an impactful book. It's so good. And I was really reluctant to read it because I thought it would be like sort of this like go-getter, go accomplish everything. And in fact, it's just the opposite. It's about embracing and leaning into where you are, who you are, and creating habits along the way and not getting stuck on the outcome. And his metaphor that I loved is about an oak tree, a sapling. And it continues, it's never stagnant, right? It continues to grow and be and get stronger all the time, but it doesn't apologize for being a sapling, right? So when I think back to Beth in 2020 on the floor of the kitchen, crying, saying, I can't do this, feeling like I can't do it, that's not a failure, right? That was just a sapling. And like lean into it and embrace it and say like, okay, all right, that is what it is. That's who I was, and I'm continuing to grow and get stronger. And who I am today is going to be so different than who I am tomorrow and the next day. So instead of wearing this like shame and guilt and being so hard on ourselves for missing the mark on something, leaning into saying like, okay, great, awesome. Like, that is who I am today. I'm going to be a little stronger tomorrow. So thank you very much.
For being vulnerable. I think that might be a word we're going to use today, and sharing your heart and sharing those powerful words. Thank you so much. Jomara, I'm pleased to say that I have been in a fun little small group with Jomara, and she is very insightful, intelligent, and asks great questions, even if sometimes you don't want to share. Jomara is the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Consultant at IMT Insurance. Okay, we got that all backwards. We've got it in here twice. She is the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at IMT Insurance. I'm going to drop that last part when we say it again. How about that? She's on a mission to put people first in the workplace and help others do the same. Born in Brazil, Jomara's interest in DEI began when she immigrated to the United States. Her personal experience as an immigrant and a woman of color greatly impacted her perspective on inclusion. As she designed organizational systems that attended to all people, Jomara learned firsthand that inclusive leadership was an essential component of any organization's success.
Thank you.
Is my mic on? Can you hear me? Good. So I want to talk today about the power of intuition when we are navigating complex decision making. And I have to tell you, if you have worked with me and if you know me personally, I am not a precise person. I am not your number girl. I am fully relying heavily on my intuition every single day. And I work in an insurance company, so you can tell a lot of actuaries don't find that funny, but we get along well. Who can please read this quote here from Albert Einstein for us today. Anybody can just jump in and read it.
The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift.
Thank you, Kelly, for doing that. I love this quote, and I think it's such a true statement of where we are at when it comes to our intuition today. So I believe we have to become better at balancing heart and mind. Do you think the foundation of leadership is intuition or it's intellect? Do you think leaders should trust their intuition when they're making complex decisions? I know a lot of leaders who have over the years really mastered the art of relying on their intuition to land at the best outcomes for companies and for themselves and their teams. I also know leaders who are really heavily hesitant to trust their intuition when they are making decisions because they think it's impulsive, emotional, and full of bias. A long time ago, we had small skulls, and we lived in smaller tribes. And now our skull consisted of our limbic system, our limbic brain, which is our deep, emotional, intuitive brain. As we moved on to larger tribes, our brains developed, and we started relying more and more on our cortex to make decisions. So we moved on from intuition and emotions to facts and logic. And in today's society, we almost don't have any place for emotions anymore. Emotions are seen as weak and not desirable, and logic is really overrated, in my opinion. One thing that is now scientifically shown is that the gut-brain link is a powerful force that controls a lot of our brain processes, such as wisdom, motivation, and sometimes decision-making. The gut-limbic brain link is a complex communication process that determines a lot of how we decide things in our lives. Intuition is what gives the hint before the intellect knows. It's that whisper that answers the question before we ask the question. And trusting our gut isn't woo-woo. It's really a science-backed skill that I believe we should rely more on. Women especially are born with immense intuitive abilities because for those of us raising kids, part of our role is to make sure we protect them from danger. And so our intuition is a powerful force we come with. Laura Hung from Harvard University 8 years ago conducted a bunch of research on leaders making high-stakes decisions. And what she found was, she was looking at things like life or death decisions at the emergency room, or investors deciding to put on millions of dollars in a startup capital. And what she found was that intuition and gut feel was what led those leaders to action when there was a lot of risk and unknowns. And so intuition played a huge role in getting them from being paralyzed and afraid to stepping into action and taking the leap. When there is information overload, a lot of risk and a lot of uncertainty, we usually get slower and more fearful. Our gut is our second brain. It has 100 million neurons lining our digestive tract, and this explains the incredible processing power we have in our gut. Research has shown that there is a complex communication system between the millions of neurons and in the gut and the limbic brain. And what happens is that determines our decision-making capabilities. For example, when we are stressed, and we can't take it, we have too much on our plates, our limbic brain communicates to our gut that we are stressed, and our gut responds, and it slows down digestion. So we have energy left to deal with our stress in a smart and efficient way. And the gut-brain system not only controls our healthy digestive processes, but also controls some functions, like I said, such as motivation and wisdom as well. Gut feel decisions can be very useful in uncertainty. Regardless of how much you analyze and you look at data, you can be swayed one way or another. These are the times where relying heavily on your gut feeling is really useful. And research shows that those who use their gut feel well, they know two things. One thing is they know that the information they get from their gut feel is not a separate piece of information, but it's based on objective and subjective data that has been collected for years for you by your gut. The other thing that they know is that the gut feel is not a quick, impulsive, irrational response, but it's cultivated, it's nuanced, and it's also based on all your experiences in this earth. So what's the best time to use your gut feel and your intuition for decision making? In my opinion, and according to research, the best time is when there is high risk and high impact decisions to be made. And so, when those kinds of decisions that it's best to walk the hidden path than drive the well-known highway, those decisions are the decisions that I typically choose to use my intuition and my gut feel. Sometimes the stress and the noise of analyzing data and a situation really gets us away from that voice and those nudges we're receiving from our body. And soliciting your intuition's help in huge decisions might seem irrational, but it's really what really helps you land at the best decisions and the best outcomes. When you're questioning, should I leave the relationship? Should I quit the job? Your gut is listening and cataloging every red flag and every sign for you without you noticing. So I was trying to decide on an experience to share today with you where I have heavily relied on my intuition to make a decision. And I had several, but I had to pick the highest impact decision I have made in my life. And that's a personal experience. And I think that there's a theme here. We're all talking about divorce. So Liz, thank you for talking about your healthy marriage today, because there's a theme here. But mine was my divorce. And so 7 years ago, I had been married for almost 17 years. And I started getting really unhappy in my relationship. And I started getting those nudges off and on that I needed to leave the relationship. And that little voice inside me kept saying, you have to leave this relationship. I really didn't have any concrete data to base my feelings on. And so I just ignored it. I had 2 beautiful daughters. I was busy working. I was like, I'm going to move on. 2 years later, after a lot of thinking, a lot of listening to my body's signals and talking to my therapist, I decided to have a talk with my ex-husband and say, I'm unhappy. I want to leave this relationship. I'm going to listen to the voice inside me and follow what my body's telling me to do. I, at the moment, had no concrete data to base my decision on, other than I was feeling unhappy. Well, I sold my house. I bought a new house. I adjusted my career so I could make the money I needed to support my kids comfortably. I met another person online, so it can't work. And I was facilitating a meeting to 300 people. And my phone kept blasting. And it was a person from California that I had no idea who was. And so I gave people a break, and I thought maybe somebody died, something happened. I have family everywhere. I thought I'm going to take this call. So I took the call, and it was a stranger giving me all the concrete data I needed to back up my decision to leave my ex-husband. And at the time I made the decision, my gut knew much before my intellect found out. My heart knew I had to take that leap, and I did not know why, but I listened to the voice, and guess what? It was right. It was right. And the lucky thing for me was that I was able to leave the relationship much before I found out the painful facts that I didn't know at the time. And so I was able to heal and recover and move on and meet somebody else before I found out, which allowed me time to then process my grief in a different stage. I'm very grateful I listened to that nudge. When you are making decisions, there are high stakes based on in deciding whether to rely on your intuition or not. I usually use two kinds of thinking processes to decide if it's the good time or not. One is what kind of problem I'm dealing with, what's at hand, and the other one is what context I'm navigating. So I always think, what kind of problem I'm thinking about? Is it a routine thing? Do I have enough data, and am I comfortable and confident predicting the outcome? And if I am, I save my intuition for another time. I just use the data available, and if it's a technical issue or something I can easily navigate that it's not unusual, I just go with the analysis and the data that's available. The other thing I think about is what's the context? Are other mental models developed that have proven to be useful in this situation? And if so, I use those. We don't need to recreate the wheel. We have to be efficient and smart as we problem solve. And so if there are things that have been done that have been helpful, there are similar problems, I use those. Now, if I'm seeking an unusual outcome, or if I'm like, let's say you are looking for a startup unicorn that nobody has found, then that's the time to heavily rely on your intuition to make the decision. So some quick strategies you can use today to increase your ability to rely on your intuition are quiet down your body so that you can listen to the inner voice and the nudges, because a lot of times we're too busy and going too fast to really get in touch with our inner self. Meditate, journal. I have a practice that I really like when I am struggling with a really big question. I ask the question on a paper, like, should I quit my job? And then I go on a walk and I come back, close my eyes and circle yes or no. First instinct. And even though I might decide differently, that helps me know what my gut is telling me. The other thing is practice with your teams to do gut checks and to kind of feel what their intuition is telling us to do. So a lot of times when I'm leading a team, I'll say to them, we have this data. Now I want for you to tell me, what is your gut telling you? Collective wisdom from our guts is really powerful. And we don't combine both. We only heavily rely on data and numbers a lot of times. Making a collective effort to listen more also helps. When we listen, we are able to discern what's going on. And the other thing is we have to be aware of our biases and our blind spots, because sometimes they do get in the way. They are heavily housed in our gut, and so they get in the way of our decision making. So making sure you're doing the work to become very aware of what you bring as far as blind spots. Harnessing and applying intuition allows us to make decisions faster and to land at better outcomes, and that's proven by research. I'm going to wrap with this. Like our conscious mind, the gut is filled with good information for us to use. And everyone knows what it is to have a pit in their stomach when they're making a decision. That is your gut talking to you. That pit in your stomach is your gut talking to you. So as we listen to our body and follow its advice, we become a lot better at navigating complex challenges and problem solving. And as our abilities to do that increases, so do the benefits. I think it's time to kick the rational mind from the executive chair and bring intuition back to its rightful place. Thank you.
To get back up here again. Here I am. Ramona, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet and apologizing for when I mess up your bio, so I apologize for that, but here we go. Ramona Wink, licensed mental health counselor with 515 Therapy and Counseling. Ramona is licensed and a motivational public speaker with 515 Therapy and Counseling in West Des Moines. She graduated with her master's in clinical mental health counseling from Drake University, with her BA majoring in mass communications from the University of Iowa. Ramona is passionate about her motivational public speaking role because it allows her to make a positive impact on even more people. Mental health impacts everyone, and yet in Iowa, we are facing a mental health crisis due to the shortage of mental health professionals. From the stage, Ramona's superpower is to share the stories that she hears in her therapist chair, with details changed to protect her clients' confidentiality, normalizing the fact that mental health issues are real. She's quick to connect with audiences of any size, and her warm and engaging personality makes people feel right at home. Her message also is packed with tools and techniques that audience members can learn and demonstrate in their lives to achieve and maintain mental wellness. Thank you, Ramona. Come on.
Well, it is good to be with all of you. Can you hear me? Yes, good. That's great. Well, as a mental health therapist, my friends, one commonality that I see among my clients is their struggle to show up some days as their authentic self. Raise your hand if you relate. I can too as their therapist. Some days it's really hard to show up as my authentic self. So my topic for today is hashtag be authentic for others. I'm really passionate about this topic because it's taken me over 50 years to try to figure it out for myself, and I'm still learning today. I want to start by sharing, though, that the reason that it's important that we learn how to do this is that I am a firm believer that the world needs you as your authentic self, and I believe that the world needs me as well. So let me take a few moments and share with you the Cliff Notes version of my backstory. For 12 years, I ate the same food every day. For 12 years, which is 4,380 days, I never deviated from my plan. For 12 years, I never had a piece of pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving, a bite of ham at Christmas or Easter, or a sliver of birthday cake. For 12 years, I was really good at serving it up for others, but I would never swallow it down for myself. For 12 years, as I had the wonderful privilege of traveling around the country and around this great world, I traveled with a suitcase for my clothes and a separate suitcase for my food. For 12 years, I exercised excessively every day, logging 437,200 minutes on the treadmill to be exact, but who's counting? For 12 years, I weighed 30 pounds less than I do today. For 12 years, my friends, from 1990 until 2001, I suffered from an eating disorder. Now, I had never been crowned a beauty queen or homecoming queen in my life. But during those 12 years, I crowned myself control queen, and I wore that crown and that sash with great pride. On the outside, everything in my life appeared to be great. My marriage was solid. My husband and I were raising a great son, and we were all very active in our community. But in the summer of 2001, I recognized that something was missing. That something turned out to be a someone. Now, before I tell you about the summer of 2001, I need to back up the bus to the 1980s. You see, I am a product of that decade. I graduated from high school in 1982 and college in 1986. How many of you weren't even born in the 1980s? How many of you like the music of the 1980s? Yes, absolutely. For those of you who weren't even born during the 1980s, let me provide a little education about the bill of goods that society was trying to sell us as women. I'll sing it for you. She works hard for the money, or working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living. My best Dolly Parton. I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and the Des Moines Metro will never hire me for my voice. But the lyrics and the message, my friends, were the same. Women, you could work really hard and you could have it all. You could have a great husband, perfect children, a fantastic job, and a clear pathway up the corporate ladder. All you had to do was follow the equation. Self-control equals success. Let me repeat that. Self-control equals success. Thus my control, crown, queen, and my sash. In that equation, the word surrender was not found. But in the summer of 2001, when I recognized that something was missing, early one morning in my living room, I hit my knees and I said these words: I surrender. I give my life to you, God. I knew that it was God who was missing in my life. Best decision I ever made. That decision had some consequences, some expected and some very unexpected. I left that great job where I was traveling around the world and became a pastor for a very small church. I was traveling around the Midwest speaking for Jesus. Fast forward 10 years, we're now at 2011. And again, I recognize that something's missing in my life. Again, it turns out to be that something was a someone. I was the keynote speaker for a 5-day Christian women's conference, and I remember driving into the place like it was yesterday. There was a sign that said, "You are entering holy ground." It was on holy ground where I met Sue. I was the speaker. Sue was in charge of the conference. At the end of that 5 days, Sue said to me, "I don't want this to be the end." And I said to Sue, "Oh, it's not the end. It's just the beginning." I had no idea what those words that just came out of my mouth meant, but God knew. God knew that I had found my life partner and my spiritual partner. A year later, my husband and I decided to divorce. Research shows us that one of the main reasons that people divorce is that one of the parties has changed. And in the 25 years since we had said "I do," Tim and I both knew that the person who had changed was me. Tim had been an attorney, he's retired now, and he had done a lot of divorces in his day, some quite nasty. But we made a commitment to each other and to our son to divorce very prayerfully and very peacefully. And we remain friends today. But the hardest day of my life, my friends, was the day that I stood in front of that church congregation that I had pastored for many years, with Tim by my side, as a pastor, telling them that we were going to divorce. It sent shockwaves to the church. It sent shockwaves to the community. No one saw it coming. It was a very dark and a very broken time in my life. I got a lot of hate mail. One letter in particular is etched in the fabric of my mind. It was handwritten. It was several pages long. And the author told me in no uncertain terms that I was going straight to hell. That letter, again, I remember it like it was yesterday, dropped me to my knees. And it was only by God's grace and power that I could get back up. As I remember that letter today telling me that I was going straight to hell for getting a divorce because I had fallen in love with someone who happened to be female, I am reminded of these words by Dr. Seuss, who says, "Be who you are and say what you feel. Because the ones who mind don't matter." Hear me on that. The ones who mind don't matter. And the ones who matter don't mind. Staying in that surrender posture, again, the control queen was gone and I was surrendered. whole new look for me. I moved from my hometown where I had lived my whole life, Southeast Iowa, and relocated Catherine to West Des Moines. Great decision. With Sue by my side, Sue had also decided to divorce at this time. We committed our lives to each other, and we committed to serving God together. With the wonderful encouragement and support from my dear friend Crystal and mentor, I went back to school to get my master's in clinical mental counseling. I was old enough to be most of the other students' mothers. But as I sat in the therapist chair, authentic Ramona finally realized that my true calling from God was and is to be a therapist. Because I love helping people find their authentic self or remove the barriers from whatever is holding them back from living out their authentic self every freaking day. I have a variety of clients on my caseload, some atheists, some strong believers, and everywhere in between. But one population that has become a natural fit for me are people from the LGBTQ community. Many of those people have been wounded by the church or wounded by someone who uses the church or Jesus as the weapon. And I can tell you, when a gay man or a lesbian woman sits in my office, many times with tears running down their eyes, and says to me, Ramona, I love God, but I love this other person, and I've been told by somebody in the name of God that I'm going to hell, my authentic self can lean in and say, I understand. I hear you. And it's then that I can choose to tell them that the God that I believe in loves them for their authentic self. That encouragement, my friends, can sometimes not only be a game changer, it can be a life saver. My belief in my God loving all of you for your authentic self and loving me for my authentic self allowed Sue and I to get married earlier this year. The day was a Tuesday. We picked it for one reason. We hope that in our old age, we can remember the date. But true story, Sue and I looked at this PowerPoint several times, and the freaking date is wrong. It should be 2/22/22. We just caught that this morning. Authentic Ramona, not a perfectionist sometimes. But we did that because we think in our old age we'll be able to remember our anniversary. Honey, I think it had something to do with the 2. We had the support of our family and many of our friends. And we knew that there were people who had already gone home to be with the Lord who were dancing in heaven. One woman came to our mind as we prepared for our wedding day. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about her. Her name was Cassie. She had already gone home to be with the Lord. Cassie was a member of the church where Sue and I are members. Cassie was in her mid-60s when she died, and Cassie was trans female. Cassie came to church every Sunday morning with the blingiest jeans I had ever seen, and trust me, I like bling. The blingiest jeans I'd ever seen, pretty pink blouses, again, I like pink. And she drove into the church parking lot riding a freaking Harley Davidson. Love Cassie. I would tell her every Sunday that I was darn jealous of those jeans and how it made me happy to see her around the Des Moines Metro riding that hall. Cassie was never a model, although she would have liked that label. Today, I'll use it intentionally when I remember her fondly. Cassie modeled what it looked like to lean into her authentic self and show up every day knowing that some people would agree and some people would disagree, and that was okay. It's not about agreeing, it's about respecting. And Cassie modeled for that beautifully. So to close, I have one question. What small change, what small shift could you make in your life to unabashedly and unashamedly live every moment of every day as your authentic self? Oscar Wilde said it beautifully. Be yourself. Everybody else is taken. Thank you so much.
Mona, thank you very much. Wow, pretty powerful words all around here. Great advice to be given. Lots of amazing things. I see and hear people's pens clicking. I hope somebody in the back is writing all this down for me. Jason. Tess Adams, I had the pleasure of speaking to her for just a moment before we got up here today. And I said, just from reading your bio, I said, my daughter needs to meet you. And I can imagine after we're done today, listening to what she has to say, you're all going to say the same thing. And as someone in this crowd knows, if you want to borrow my daughter for that, you may have her. She's a handful. Tess is a certified leadership coach, licensed recovery coach with the Iowa Board of Commissions, and holds a BA in Human Services and Associates in Criminal Justice. That's where my daughter fits in. She is committed to becoming the industry leader of wellness recovery by transforming the way we do business through wellness recovery, education, and coaching. As a trauma survivor, she understands the adverse impacts of trauma on the mind and how this causes ongoing emotional and physical distress. She uses her lived experiences to provide trauma-informed education to leaders, to reduce liability costs for employers, and to inspire individuals everywhere. Be well, live well, and stay well. Tess, come on up here.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, I'm going to make sure I use my projected voice because I was taught to do that recently. So my name is Tess Adams, and I am the CEO of Power U Consulting. And I want to thank you all for coming here today to support us women. Look at Tina talk. Isn't that awesome? You guys, it is an honor to be here. When Miss Catherine asked me to be one of the speakers for this event, she and I have met at some of the Women Mentoring Women conferences, and she talked to me and I explained to her where I've been and what I want to do with my life. And she said, I want you to come speak and I want you to tell your story. And I said, Miss Catherine, you want me to go into this room with all these professional white people and you want me to tell them where I've been and what happened to me? And she looked me straight in the face and she said, absolutely. So I hope you guys are ready for me today. That is the reason why I'm last. I thought what I had was a little heavy because initially I was going to be second. I know we lost some people, but I believe the people that are here are supposed to be the people in this room. So today I want to talk about breaking chains, because chains is something that I've had to work on breaking through my recovery journey. And so today I hope that you guys can learn a little bit from my journey, and I hope that I can set some other people free as well. You guys good with that? All righty, so let me tell you a little bit about me. So I was born and raised in the city of Des Moines. I come from a blended family, which means I have a father or stepfather, and a mother. I have two half brothers and I had two wicked stepsisters, literally. In this family, there was a lot of craziness going on. We literally were just out of order. So I saw domestic violence daily. I saw people drink to deal with their problems. I saw incest in my own bedroom. And so as I had this journey, I realized there's something wrong with these people and I need to get out of here. So at 14, I got my first job. I wanted to have my own money because I wanted to take care of myself. By 17, I was ready to move into my own apartment, and I did, because I'm pretty tenacious like that. By 17 and a half, however, I was pregnant. By 19, I had two children under the age of 2. And the problem was that the young man who had fathered these children, he was living with me, and he was just like my father. So he was abusing me mentally, he was abusing me physically. After being abused, disrespected for the 2 years, almost 3 years that we were together, abusing each other, arguing with each other, being choked until I passed out, life just kind of spiraled for me. I began to do what I saw my family do. They used to deal with their problems like this. So I became the aggressor. They dealt with their problems by stuffing it, drinking it, trying to numb the pain. So I began to do that. So after all those times, I spiraled and I spiraled. The more he abused me, the more I spiraled. The more I drank, the more he abused me, the more he abused me, the more I drank. It all came to a crash and burn when he announced that he had a child with another woman. I was devastated, pissed off, and I was ashamed and humiliated because I had put up with all of this foolishness, and then you have the nerve to go and have a baby with another woman. I tried to kill myself. I lost the kids because unfortunately it's hard to be a good parent when you're drunk all the time. And eventually I did get rid of him, but because you do what you see more than you do what you know, then I found him again and again. And I had more kids. And it was just a mess. I was out of control. I remember in January or December, I guess 31st, it was a New Year's Eve party of 1993. My cousin invited me to a party. And at this point, everything had crashed. I had nothing else to lose. I had been somewhere hiding out, drowning myself in my sorrows, and I was pretty good at it. And she told me, come on, you gotta get out the house, you gotta live. I know you lost the kids, but you gotta do something else. I don't think going to the party was the answer, because there's something about the social scene that kind of makes you feel alive, and there's something about alcohol that gives you like this vicarious thing. And so I was there and I was turning up, guys, turned down for what? I swear about 30 minutes into it, I was white girl wasted. No offense, but you guys know what I mean when I say it. So she has to help me to the car because I cannot even walk. So I get into the car and I do the drunk lean thing that we do when you have alcohol poisoning. And I guess she had to go back inside for something because the next thing I know, somebody jumps in the car with me and you're on and just take off with me. So I probably passed out because you know that's what alcohol poisoning does to you. Because when I came to, we were in the back seat of the car and we were out at Easter Lake and this person was raping me. And of course I fought and I wanted him to get off of me. And he hit me so hard that it's like it sobered me up enough where I realized that I knew who this person was. And what's worse, he was my family member. Now, granted, he wasn't biologically my family, I guess like bloodline, but he was my stepfather's nephew. He was his brother's son. I had slept at his house. He had been to my house. This was family. And why was he doing this to me? So he drives me home because he knows where my parents stay. When I walk in the door, my father, I just seen it on his face. He already knew what happened. He just walked away. I wanted to go somewhere and die. So I opted for passing out. Woke up the next morning, heard them arguing, knew it wasn't going to be good. My mom came in, she talked to me, she listened to me, she cried with me, and she hugged me, and I needed that. But then she looked me in the face, and she said, I'm sorry this happened to you. She said, but you can't call the police because that's a family, and you don't do that to family. You can imagine how I felt because everything had been taken from me. My dignity, my respect, my kids. And it was just too much. And I just lost the little bit of control I had left. I became a terrorist in the state of Iowa, literally a terrorist. Osama bin Laden had nothing on me. I began to take stuff that didn't belong to me. I put on a mask and I began to live vicariously through this stuff. People respected me when I had on a certain label. People respected me when I drove up in that vehicle. When I ate at this restaurant or slept at that hotel, people acted like I was normal and they talked to me differently, and that's what I needed. The problem is that I was still numbing my pain. And now I had added drugs to it because I had a new guy. And we had had 3 more kids. And I was just going through the motions of life, pretending like life was good when the truth was I was a criminal. But life has a funny way. And eventually my addiction led to my incarceration. And my incarceration led to my liberation. I literally found myself inside the confines of a prison. literally. I wish I could say it took one time, but I guess I'd been through too much stuff. It doesn't get in there fast enough. So the first time I went through the motions, I did what they told me to do, went to bed when they said, I ate when they said, I got up when they said. I got out and I went right back to doing what I did because I was mad then too. How dare they send me to prison? That was my first felony. Like it takes more than one. But the second time around, there's something about that second time. The second time, as soon as I came in, I was embarrassed because if you don't know anything about the Department of Corrections, let me fill you in. So you go in before the judge to be sentenced because you have been charged with a crime, you have already pled guilty, and now you're sentencing. When they sentence you, they have two options. One, they can send you back out to the community called community corrections, where you'll have a probation officer. They'll give you services in the community so that you can be rehabilitated on your own accord. However, if you're someone like myself, who they saw was like, we don't think that's gonna work for you, do not pass go, do not collect $200, you go straight to the penitentiary. And there, then you do the different rehabilitation options, but they're your choice. They're not forced on you. You just have to live there until your release date. So because I had already been there, then really the liable option was just to throw me back in there because it was less than a year later and they call that recidivism. So I went in the second time. I saw a woman named Kathy. And Kathy was someone I had known from the first time because everyone knew I was pregnant with my last child when I went in the first time. And so I guess that kind of makes you stand out when you're pregnant and in prison, right? Kathy was in there serving a 50-year sentence because, like I said, addictive is expensive. And Kathy and her boyfriend were addicted to substance, and they thought that they were going to go rob a convenience store to get some money so they could get high. But the man who was in the convenience store, he pulled out a shotgun. And everybody got scared, and somebody shot, and he got killed instantly. So when I saw her, good news was she didn't ask me the dumb question, like, what are you doing back here? Like, instead, she asked me how the kids were doing. So I pulled out these pictures, and I was showing them, yeah, that's the baby. See how big she's got, and here's the boys, and everybody was smiling. And she was so cool. She just threw out her cigarette, and she said, yeah, they look happy in that photo. I wonder if they're happy now. She said, I don't understand you young girls. She said, I have been here for 20 years, and I haven't seen my son since he was 2 years old. My parents have disowned me. They don't even bring him to visit me. They said, and you had a chance to be out there with your kids, and you're back in here looking at me? She said, you make me sick. And she just walked away. Yeah, that's how I felt. I was standing there with my pictures in one hand, her truth resonating in my ears, and then the tears started to roll because she was right. What was I doing back here? I knew that this was not bringing life to me. Why was I back in this situation again? I wish my story ended with just, I got out and I did better and life was good, and here I am 20 years later. I wish. I have been released from that prison since 2001, and I have not turned back. But even though I made that decision to not steal anymore, because the truth is I knew it was wrong when I was doing it, I just didn't care, because all the bad stuff that had happened to me, somebody owed me. But there were so many broken pieces that I had to break some chains. So what I've realized is that my pain has a purpose. And that purpose is Power Youth Consulting. I want to help people be well, stay well, and live well, because I've been through so much trauma, but I not only been through it, but I overcame it, I persevered through it, and I endured through it. So why not be part of the journey of helping other people get it together? Since the pandemic, there has been so much change in this world and how people view life. Did you guys see us? We're like miserable now, right? You walk in the store and people are supposed to be like, hi, thanks for coming. They're like, yeah, can I help you? It's like, oh my, it's only 8 o'clock in the morning. It's gonna be a long day, right? And so what I've learned through my studies, through my experiences, is that trauma, I call this breaking chains of trauma. My mother asked me to remove the word trauma because she said, well, you can't say trauma. She said, because when people hear trauma, then they think that means that there's something wrong with them. So she asked me to call it unresolved issues. So for those recording, Mom, I listened and I called it unresolved issues. But it has 3 faces. And that's what I want to do at Power You Consulting. I want to be a trauma-informed educator so people can understand trauma, its impacts, and how we can have better response to it. Because I did have that shame face. I was shamed that I was in a relationship where somebody was putting their hands on me, because when I watched my mom go through it daily, I said I wasn't going to beat her. Ain't no man gonna put his hands on me. But that's exactly what I was doing, so that shamed me. I internalized it. Well, maybe if I don't do this, or maybe if I don't say that. And there's somebody here in this room that you're internalizing shame as well. Oh, it's my fault that we got a divorce. It's my fault that the kids don't act right. It's my fault we didn't get that account. And I'm telling you today, we're gonna all get set free. Then there's a resentment phase. I was mad at the world. My mom didn't even let me call the police when this man raped me, but she was the one that called the police on me when the CPS was called. I realized though that she wanted me to get better. She wanted me to be a better mother. She wanted me to stop drinking and stop dealing with my problems the way I was. But at the time, I didn't get that. I hated her. She was the enemy. I was her only daughter. Why wasn't she helping me instead of doing that to me? Resentment is that injustice face. How dare he leave this family for that secretary of his? How dare they give that account to John? He's only been here 6 months. I'm the account executive, right? And then there's a mask face. And the mask is what I put on when I was terrorizing the state of Iowa. I acted like I was living my best life. You guys, let me tell you guys. I was traveling. I was doing stuff that I shouldn't have been doing with other people's money, and it is shameful. But because in my mind, all of these broken parts, I had put on this face. And I told myself that life was good, and that's why the mask face is the most dangerous, because it's the most common. But the truth is that we are pretending, and the worst thing is we're lying to ourselves. The mask face refuses to be victimized anymore, and so we just kind of think that because we're sailing out here and we're academically astute and we got the 6 figures in the bank and we got the house, the car, the kids, and the dog. But the truth is we have no peace, and peace of mind is priceless. And I'm telling you, there's a more excellent way. So today I want to give you something I call the free model. And I'm going to give it to you for free, even though Ms. Catherine told me not to do anything for free. Because I believe that that is what the power is in my story. You see, a lot of people hear my story and they're like, oh my gosh, you've been through all that stuff? I would have never known you've been to prison. You hadn't told me, and now you got power, you consulting, girl, you just go. But this is not about Tess. And if that's what you heard, that this was about Tess, then I'm sorry you missed the whole message. This is about Power You. This is a movement. I do not stand here on my own accord. I stand here by the grace of God. He was the one who helped me heal. He was the one who helped me find peace, find the power to change my mind, find the power to let it go. He is the one. And now that he brought me out, it is my duty and my honor to help other people find that place where they can be well and stay well and live well. We don't have to settle no more. You have the power in you just like I got the power in me. So let's do it. So here's my free model. Because anymore, we don't need another motivational speaker. We have enough of those all over the internet. You guys see them? We need tools. We need an order of operations. We need an idea of where do I start, because I had no idea. So the F, free it, feel it, face it, feel it, and forgive it. I had to face a lot of nasty truths in order for me to be set free. I had to face the fact that I was raped by family. And then because they denied me justice, I was raped again. I had to face the fact that my mother did call CPS on me, but she's still my only mother. And then I had to face the fact that I was an unfit mother. And I didn't take care of my kids, and I didn't protect them. And then I just gave the other kids to their fathers because I was just feeling some kind of way. But the truth is that I had to feel that after I faced it. And I don't know why we act like feelings is the worst thing in the world. Do you know that crying cleanses the soul? It's time to feel the pain so we can move on from it. Because the truth is, we all go through it. And the only way to get through it and to move on from it is to go through it. And then we have to forgive it. And it's not easy. But the truth is, as long as I was holding him in offense, because he was wrong, as long as I was holding that against my mom, because she did fail me, I was holding myself in bondage to them, and I needed to break those chains. And it wasn't easy. It took inpatient treatment. It took therapy a couple times. It took self-help groups. It took support groups. It took mentors. It took coaches. It took me reading books. It took me going back to college. It took Jesus. And I had to pray. And I had to pray. And I had to pray before those nightmares went away of that moment over and over again. But when I finally found that willingness to surrender, I think that was the word that Ramona used, then that's when the freedom started. That's when I broke free of that chain. That's when he was able to restore in me a clean heart and renew in me a right spirit. That's when he was able to drop that power in me that allowed me to start praying for my enemy. I didn't want him to do that to somebody else. I started praying for him that he might be set free. And that's where we have to go. Face it, feel it, and forgive it. The R, remove and replace it. Remember I told you this is how I learned to deal with my problems, right? And then to numb the pain, right? There are two things in this world. There are those things that bring life to you, and there are those things that drain life from you. And neither one of those things was bringing life to me. So I had to remove them from my life. Now, drinking alcohol is legal, but just because it's lawful, it's not good for me. So I had to let that stuff go. And I had to replace it with new things that I call wellness tools. My boss is here. She is amazing, you guys. She encourages me. She inspires me. She sent me through a rap training, and now I'm using it to build a business. You guys give her a hand. Seriously. Yes. An evidence-based mental health curriculum. But I'm sure she's probably like, she released a monster like, oh my gosh, I knew she was going to do great things, but I didn't know she was just going to take it and run down the street with it. Wellness Recovery Action Plan. It's so simple, it's stupid. It helps you understand who you are and when you're well and when you're not well. We create a daily maintenance plan so that you can be well, stay well, and live well. So that's what I've replaced it with, is with some good wellness tools. And this is how I stay strong. And this is how I stay engaged. And this is how I stay well. The next one is evaluate yourself and embrace change. Now that was a hard one. I think this is the hardest step of them all. Because it was easy for me to talk about what he did wrong, because he did. It was easy for me to talk about what my mom did wrong, because she did, but what about me, right? I had some personal responsibility in this. Regardless of what happened to me, that did not negate me going out and doing what I did. Y'all, when I say I was a good criminal, yeah, every day. Just trifling with it though. So I had to look at myself, and I had to get myself in a place where I understood that no, Tess, this is not an answer. It's not an excuse, and you know better, so it's time to do better. Self-discovery is the first step to making lasting change. And Michael Jackson sang it better than I could, but I'm not going to sing like Ramona did. He said, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to make a change. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. You see, when I found Christ, he didn't send me to a church. He didn't put me in a choir. He didn't tell me to go up on the top of the hill and become a holy roller. He put a mirror in front of me, and he showed me that my life was going to start when I started changing the woman in this mirror. And the last one is to empower others. Can I have my ladies come up who spoke today? I need you guys for a demonstration. All of you, please. Seriously, can you guys come join me? Again, I didn't go through all that for nothing. God didn't allow me to go through those trenches and then pull me out and restore me through those trenches for nothing. He didn't do it just so Tess could have a good life. He didn't do it just so Tess could be okay. He did it so that I could be a message of hope for others and take all those messy parts and use them to empower others. We did not even talk about our stories today, I promise you. But yet you guys see how they all lined up, because this is the empowerment movement right here. So when I get healed, then I reach out and I grab one. And then when she gets healed, then she reaches out and she empowers one. And it becomes an empowerment movement. Come on, guys, we're gonna walk up on the stage. It becomes, they didn't know I was gonna do this. It becomes an empowerment movement, because this is what it's gonna take for us to get our lives where we can be well, stay well, and live well. This is Power You Consulting is big on the power of we. It is not a me movement. It is not a you movement. It's not a Lisa movement, a Beth movement, or a Melissa movement. It is a we. This is where the power comes from. So I found this, and I thought it just really optimized everything I was trying to talk about today. This person standing on the edge of the cliff. They have the opportunity to jump, but instead they're reaching to the sky and they're trying to tap into the power, literally, of the lightning. Every last person in here has the power in them to live life and life more abundantly. It's not about whether you believe in God, it's whether you don't believe in God, whether you go to church or you don't. It's about knowing that you have greatness in you. And that's what I'm here to do, empower others to empower themselves. So I have been struggling. I don't know why my stuff isn't there, but okay. Trying to get my website up. So my website is www.consulting.com. You guys, I need some help though. It like keeps going up, it crashes and it comes back down. So tech support in the room, know your sister. The new member of the chamber needs help, okay? 515-500-4989. 515-500-4989. That is the end of my time. I want to thank again the chamber, Ms. Catherine, everybody who made this possible, and ladies, take a bow because we did amazing today. Thank you.
Everybody stay up there, Catherine says. Wow, you guys, what an amazing afternoon we have just spent together. Look at these beautiful ladies. May they have a hand again. Catherine's doing the photo op. All right, thank you for that moment, letting Mama Catherine get a good, oh, look, wait, she gets it better. No, Mama Catherine, you gotta get back in line again, sorry.
That's too perfect. Oh my gosh.
Here I go. You guys, I don't even know what else more that could be said that hasn't. This amazing, amazing afternoon with these ladies. I'm honored to have been able to help make this happen. Thank you again for all of your time today. Everybody here, I am certain, had something that really stuck with them. I want you to take a moment and just try to remember that before we get busy and before we get up and walk away and start talking and having cocktail hour and having fun together. Just take a moment to really remember what stuck with you today and what you'd like to take away. I'm hopeful that everybody that did speak today will be here for just a little bit and can shake hands and engage as we have cocktail hour together. And Catherine, I'm certain, has one quick word she has to say too.
I think Christine has a drawing.
Christine has a drawing. So, oh, and there we are with the bowl. So my favorite thing to do when we used to have all of these luncheons and then we do these is I would run around the room with the fishbowl and say, everybody make sure you put your business cards in there. And I'm not going to run today, but if you don't have your business card in there, I ask you to do so. So Christopher's Fine Jewelry is we're always looking at fun things to do and engage in our community, but we also are looking for fun things to do in the store and fun products to have. Again, you know, we're girls, we like jewelry. So I have a super, is secret the right word to use still? No, Jason says no, better word to use. I have a sparkly idea that we're not really able to talk about publicly yet, but I'm going to draw a business card and I'm going to have a super fun thing to tell somebody about next week. It's a surprise for next week. I don't have my glasses anymore. Carrie Davidson. Are you still with? Carrie? Hey! congratulations, and you don't even know what you won. So thank you again. Thank you for letting me talk in the middle of all of this. I hope we are able to enjoy some time together, and yet before we all have to leave for the evening, and I will catch up with you soon. So thank you again so much.
So we've had a little problem with the cocktails, but after all of the talk about not drinking alcohol, I think that's okay. So we have a bartender and they didn't show up for some strange reason. So I think I told them the right day. Anyway, but we have water, we have some non-alcoholic beverages as well. We'd love for you to stay after and mingle with our amazing expert speakers. So thank you.